Welcome to Quirky Cooking Chats. I'm Jo Whitton, and with me today I have my good friend Lucie McCullough. Hi, Lucie.
Hi, Jo. How you doing? Lovely to see you again.
Yeah, you
Couple
too.
years on from the last time.
Yes, well, we did chat briefly on video when I was in bed the other week and looking dreadful. So hopefully I look a bit better now.
You do. You look gorgeous, vibrant and
Oh,
gorgeous.
oh, look at the sunshine there. It looks beautiful. How cold is it?
I think it's probably about actually spring is in the air for sure. We're all feeling it. Lots of little flowers are popping up. So I think it's probably about 10 to 15 right now.
Still pretty chilly for
So I
me.
guess I'm doing a little bit of what is it, shiver therapy sitting out here, but I thought
Yeah.
I'd get myself outside.
Oh, that's good. So, Lucie, I would love for you to tell us a little bit about how you came to live in a beautiful little village in Italy. And you may have to go right back to a bit of your health journey, because I know that people are going to be really interested to hear about that. I'll ask
Okay.
questions as we go, but
Yeah,
please feel free
do.
to just, like, if you were telling someone your story of how you came
Yeah.
to live in this village, take it
Yeah.
away.
Do you know what? I just did it the other day, so it should be fresh. We were at an International Women's Day lunch with all the mamas of the community. So, and there
Beautiful.
was a new mama visiting. So I think I've just gone through it again. So how far do I have to go back? Let me think. I grew up with some issues of ill health, thanks to copious amounts of antibiotics and potentially some other things going on. I grew up in London. I was just outside London. We moved to Hong Kong, myself and my husband, and had 10 years there. During which time I was trying to figure out, started some knowledge around healthy living, but was really, really struggling. I think potentially was exposed quite seriously to mold, which is an issue of Hong Kong and its climate, and then found out actually, when we left Hong Kong, that the places that we had lived were right underneath enormous cell towers, and started to learn that mold illness and electromagnetic fields can be a double whammy, basically, can go a little bit hand in hand. I think you can get one and you can become more sensitive or more prone to the other. So left Hong Kong, moved to Massachusetts, with a gorgeous little adopted Hong Kong girl in tow and a biological boy, after having gone through multiple pregnancy loss. Moved to Massachusetts and revolutionized everything from literally one day to the next. I was pregnant as well with my second biological child. And then pretty much the minute we landed down, I decided to start the GAPS diet, for myself, for healing, but also for my daughter, who has some neurological inflammation stuff going on. Met an absolutely beautiful woman in Hong Kong, French woman, who was married to a New Zealand a guy from New Zealand, and they had 5 kids, and I want to say that 3 of them played in the New Zealand rugby team. And so she reassured me that there was absolutely no problem in doing a grain-free diet, because 3 of her children, after having done that for several years, were playing rugby for New Zealand. So we started it, and just everything changed for me. I started to lose all my panic attacks, and I was riddled with anxiety. Just a constant sort of low grade level of anxiety in my body. Managed to get rid of all that. Heavy period pains that I used to get that would be crippling disappeared. Didn't even know when I was getting my period. All of these things. And at that point, we bought a house, and I had worked in fashion for many years, in Italy, before moving to Hong Kong, and in London, actually. And I had fallen into interior design in Hong Kong, which I loved. And we were just about to renovate our house in Massachusetts, and I thought, something's telling me that maybe I need to take a different path here when it comes to renovations. And I'd been in Hong Kong, and I'd been going into these apartments and brand new, beautiful Miele, Gaggenau, Siemens ovens, and I was just throwing them down chutes because the client wanted something different. And I was like, this is kind of weird, and this isn't what we should be doing in this day and age. So I was feeling like the climate piece as probably being, or just the waste as being an issue anyway. And I went down to a local restaurant that was run by a lady who had also had her children on GAPS for many years and cured them. Her son was named the bubble baby by Boston Children's, and was thrown because he couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything, couldn't breathe in anything, couldn't touch anything. And she managed to.
That would be.
Yeah.
So stressful.
So stressful. And so she actually ended up opening a restaurant, which is in my future, I feel, for my children as well. Because once you start to live this way and eat this way, as you know, Jo, you've just created a cookbook for them, right? You want your children to carry it on. And I went to her and I said, do you happen to know where I could get a natural, I think it was a sofa I was looking for or something. And I went down. No, maybe I can't remember what it was. It was something to do with the renovation. It wasn't a piece of furniture. And I went down and I said, and she said, yeah, down the road is a little natural furniture maker. Go and ask her. She's brilliant. She's, way out, complete pioneer in the field. And she has this little studio down there. So I walked down, I went and met this lady, and she said, oh my God, if you're about to renovate your home and you feel like, she said, everything you're telling me makes me think that you've been suffering from sick building syndrome, which obviously made complete sense. I was in Hong Kong in a moldy flat, potentially, and under a cell tower. So, as I said, the double whammy. You really should think about, if you're an interior designer, you should really think about getting yourself down to Santa Fe in New Mexico and doing this building biology course. And that was the beginning of my building biology career. So we renovated our first home in Massachusetts.
Dash straight down to Santa Fe, like
the next day, literally the next day.
I just
on a plane
because
the course was starting, and I was like, I can't, I was mid-construction. I'd already taken on the contractor. I was like, I can't lose this time. I've got to go now. So I think my husband changed everything around and came and covered the kids, and off I went. And it was amazing. Santa Fe itself is absolutely amazing. I love it. You just arrive and you can just breathe beautiful clay everywhere because of the adobe houses. And it was really, really interesting. The whole thing was really interesting. The house in Massachusetts was definitely, we'd got to a certain level in construction, and it was already a house. It was already, it wasn't a new build. So, and it wasn't being completely gutted either. So that house definitely got to a very good level of, being a safe house, basically. But it didn't probably get as far as I would like it to. And so now we find ourselves here because we were in Massachusetts for 7 years, and then COVID broke. And at the time we had our, I'll explain now why we got here. We'd had our children in and out of various schools, Steiner schools, nature schools. Again, the same problem. They were my daughter's amazing nature school moved underneath a cell tower, actually 2 enormous cell towers. And I thought, oh my God, you just can't escape this anywhere. So I was then pregnant with my third boy, and we were about to, change Steiner schools and have to travel like an hour and a half around Boston every morning to get them to school. But I was pregnant, and my pregnancies have not been straightforward. And my nanny just looked at me and she's like, how are you going to do this? How on earth are you going to do this? But again, trying to find a safe environment for the children where we had invested all our time and money in property and friendships and everything else was just proving really, really hard. So we put them in the public school for what ended up being half a year because COVID then broke. There was a really, really good program that would have supported my daughter, or we thought would have supported my daughter. So we thought, you know what, let's try it. And with the idea that we knew we were going to start to head back to Europe at some point. And so we put them in there, and then COVID broke, and the kids just got dropped like hot potatoes. And that was in sort of February, I guess. We were 3 months at home. I just had the third baby. It wasn't straightforward. Do you remember, Jo, when we were planning
lots of phone calls?
Exactly. I remember sitting in intensive care talking to you on the phone.
Yeah.
And so a really good friend of ours, because we have this mountain house where Jo and I will soon be holding this beautiful retreat together. And we've had that for 15 years now, and we have really good friends from there. And he just called me and he's got a child with some needs as well, and so he understood that it wasn't straightforward for us. And he called me and he said, I've just met someone that you absolutely have to meet. She's got the exact same ideas that you have for your children. And that was it. That was May. And in June, we sold our house, or July, we sold our house. August, we got on a plane. I still have 600 boxes sitting in a storage unit because we still haven't, of course, finished renovating our next house. And the doors opened to Village Forest School with 25 kids on September the 16th, I think.
And your baby was still newborn?
Yeah, he was 6 months old. He's now dying to go to school and doesn't understand why he can't.
Oh, how old is he now?
He's only just turned 3, so he'll start in September. And the kids are all fluent Italian now and run around this incredible biodynamic winery that our partners own. We started with 1 yurt, 2 teachers and 20 children, and we've now got 4 yurts, 12 teachers, I think, because we're bilingual, so we have to have 1 teacher of 1 language and 1 of the other, and I think close to 60 children.
Oh wow.
And this community has built up here, and we've got families from Greece, Holland, Australia, America, Ireland, Germany, Mexico, you name it. It's just unbelievable. Summer and I, my partner and I, every time there's a sort of gathering, we just stand back and look at each other and go, what are all these people doing here?
How did this happen?
Yeah. And it's absolutely beautiful, and the kids are so happy. And we follow a loose Steiner curriculum, and it's all worked out. It's such hard work, but it's all worked out, and we have extremely happy children. So that's what
every time I look at the photos on your Instagram for Village Forest School, I'm just like, I want to go to school there. Sitting out in the sunshine.
The amount of people that have said, I'd love to go back to school. It's amazing. And I have to say, what drove me was that I didn't enjoy terribly my education. I found it very, very stressful, a lot of pressure. And so I just didn't, I realized how incredible the Steiner pedagogical philosophy is. And it's such the way that you learn an entire subject, and you do it all through project and hands-on, and it's just amazing. And I just feel like I spent so many years trying to study and I remember nothing, absolutely nothing. And I want these kids to have this stuff, to be able to go forward into life with. So they're enjoying it. They really, really, we were talking yesterday in one of our first College of Teachers and board meeting, and we were talking about what the successes were and what the failures were. I was just saying that they just love learning. They're so hungry for it.
Oh, that makes me feel so happy, because that was my aim with homeschooling my kids. We didn't have a beautiful school like yours close by, and so I homeschooled, and I just kept that thought in my head that if I can teach them a love of learning, they can learn anything, and that's all I need to do.
Exactly. They have their mind open to learning. It's not closed down to it, and it's lovely. Yeah, it's a really beautiful thing to see, and it's just such a stark contrast to what I grew up with. So I view that as a raging success.
Yes, well done. So that's been, did you say 3 years?
We're in our third year now. We're in our 3rd year.
Wow. Yeah, I couldn't believe it so Lucy was messaging me, and she just had a baby, and she was going through all these difficulties with, I think you were trying to work out the breastfeeding with this little brother that had been through a hard birth, and there was so much going on. And then suddenly you packed up and moved to another country in the middle of COVID and started a school, as you do.
There were some good things that came out of COVID, I guess. That's what we have to take away from that, right?
I think that's what everybody says that I talk to, that it somehow changed something for them.
Definitely.
Makes you realize what's important, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, the stress and anxiety that all my kids were going through, or really just the sort of the neglect, the way that they they just dropped them was, I mean, nothing to do with the teachers. They didn't know what they were doing. It was, unprecedented, but it was just, it was almost inhumane. So we didn't really have much choice. I'm not sure that I really wanted to get up in the middle of COVID with a 6-month-old baby out of intensive care and do it, but it was obviously what was supposed to happen. And here we are, and it was definitely the right thing in hindsight. So
yeah, amazing. So the lessons that you learnt with gut health along the way, tell us some more about that, because I know that's been huge in your life. I remember, it was actually on the last podcast, I think you told us about when you were renovating your house in Massachusetts and the container arrived from Hong Kong. Can you mention that?
Yeah. It's a tough journey when you've got sick from something, I tell you. I left Hong Kong because I was pregnant and I needed to get medical attention. I actually had was born with a vascular malformation, and I had a blood clot that I hadn't removed after the first pregnancy. And so I had this little bubba growing inside me, this little Kian growing inside me, and a blood clot. And so we were in between going to Scotland or going to Boston. And that was based on schools for our daughter at this stage. And when we found out that I was pregnant, we took a sharp turn to Boston because my specialist was in the Boston Children's Hospital there. So I didn't end up packing up our stuff from Hong Kong. And this is one of the things, if you don't micromanage everything, never quite know how stuff is going to work out. The flat, it was the middle of summer, and the flat was probably left unair conditioned. And all this stuff was wrapped up in plastic, which, you can tell the people as many times as possible to wrap it in canvas cloth so that they can breathe and all that, but that didn't happen. I just had the most beautiful carpet made, or what I thought was the most beautiful carpet. And it was my design, and I'd had it made in China. But it was, latex backed and this and that, and really not great quality. And it was brand new. And the container arrived, and I was very heavily pregnant with Kian at this point. And we were opening stuff, and I was sitting on a chair in this driveway in this completely different life. Container pulled in this beautiful stone carriage driveway in front of this lovely little white English sort of villa manor house. And they started to open the container, and I was like, oh my God, I can smell the mold already. And the stuff had sat there in the summer, sweating in its plastic, and then obviously on the ship. And it was just, put it this way, the removal guys had an early Christmas, because they ended up basically getting most of the furniture. And I think that was enough. I think that was enough
beautiful pieces that you'd picked.
They were beautiful pieces that I'd had custom made. But again, I didn't know about I didn't know about, building with natural materials or interior design with natural materials. And I know now that choosing the materials wisely or wiser would have probably created a very different outcome in that situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, it was so
it worked out for the best anyway. You got rid of it.
And it sent me on another learning curve. Exactly. And so now, I'm pretty clear about all materials that come into my living space have to be natural and breathable, and they'll live longer.
Yes.
Wherever you go.
And so when you renovated Vita, the chalet up in the mountain, you used the natural materials and the natural heating and all of that kind of thing, didn't you?
We did, but that was, sorry, I've got a very needy little pup sitting beside me, so I'm stroking him. That's why he keeps moving, because if not, he's going to probably start yapping at me. Do you know, that was well before any of this journey, because we bought the house in 2007, so it was our first few years in Hong Kong, and I really didn't know anything. I was still working in fashion. I think I had a shoe brand, and I think it was as early as that. But the thing that I find just so fascinating in hindsight is that looking back, all of the methodologies that they implemented in the build were pretty much in line with building biology. So I feel like if you go to these very traditional areas, you know, these houses are, as you wrote, 300 and whatever years old.
150. I had to check on my calculator.
And they're still beautifully standing, all of them. So, I mean, that's really all you need to know, that basically they're that old and they're still standing. So they're doing something right, because one of the most fascinating things I learned in Santa Fe, and it's probably the first or second slide, was that taking all the various components that you use to build a modern American home, and estimating obviously how they work together, scientifically understanding how they work together, and estimating their lifespan. The average lifespan of an American house that's built today is 23 years.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
And then the next slide was these three kids going out to the playground with an enormous Ziploc bag over the top of them. It was made up, the slide. And the
not
teacher
so weird
said,
after COVID stuff we saw.
Right, exactly. Not so strange. You're right. Weren't they in like massive test tubes? Wasn't they even there? And that was like, so hang on, you don't do this to your children when you send them out to the playground, do you? So why do you do this with your houses?
So
And that's exactly right. They just completely seal them. They don't let them breathe. They strangle them basically. And so yeah, it was looking back at the build of Bita, it was just amazing. It was all the traditional methodology, before anyone knew what technology was. And yeah, and it stays, it's perfect. It breathes, it lives, it can be closed for, you know, we've had it from when we were in Hong Kong to Massachusetts, and we haven't used it, and it can be closed up, and it remains its living, standing, breathing organism by itself. And the climate's tough, you know, it's in the heart of the Alps, so it's not exactly like it's a perfect relative humidity and a perfect temperature and a perfect. So yeah, it was really interesting that that it worked that way round.
You know, recently, as you know, we're in just a modern house that was built 12 years ago, and we have had 1, 2, 3, 4 water leak type events with mold in this 12-year-old house. And the last guy that came to check everything, the mold remediation guy, because we've got a current situation that's all sealed up that we're waiting on getting fixed on one wall in the laundry backing onto my ensuite shower. He came and had a look, and he said, you know, with these houses that are going up so quickly, and like one corporation will put up a whole neighborhood kind of thing.
Yeah.
People will rush in and buy them, and they're just so quickly built houses. He said, we're finding within 2 years, we're getting called in to do mold remediation. 2 years. They're already, well, you know, the showers are leaking. It's not, you know, it's just frightening. Like, what are houses are we basing our children in?
And then here's all these people that are focused on, you know, don't eat meat for climate change. And actually, look, the biggest culprit when it comes to I think it's the second or the third biggest culprit when it comes to the climate is the building industry.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I mean, it's absolutely terrifying when you understand the amount that just gets thrown into the ground. So yeah, I kind of made a vow to myself that whatever I buy can go back into the ground, and it won't harm it. And the minute you look at it that way, it's very clear, easy to know what you're buying.
That's such a good principle.
At this point, we all know what's natural and what's not, really. So yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I find it astonishing that we're still allowed to do it. And unfortunately, now in Italy, we've had to battle through a renovation here. We bought a house. We moved here to buy a beautiful farmhouse in the middle of the countryside, and we ended up buying a a house attached to a church in the center of the village, which is absolutely beautiful, and has a hay barn that we've opened up all the windows that look over at the sunrise, and then we have a view over on the other side of the room with the sunset over the Alps. So it's a fab little spot. It's just very funny because we had absolutely no intention to be living in a village. We really thought we were going to move and sort of set up a farmstead, but then we realized that we moved here for this community where the kids can run around and be in this little village, and not, that they can just go from one house to the next. And so we ended up saying, no, this is what we want, and this is what we need. This is what community is all about, and that's exactly what they do, and it's beautiful. But now in Italy they have all these things called eco bonuses and super bonuses, and it's exactly that. It's basically trying to tell you to wrap up your house so that they can achieve European standard energy ratings. And we were laughing the other day, and we've got to do it to get these reimbursements because building's so ridiculously expensive right now. But I'm having to, go outside the box and make sure that we're using all natural materials doing it. So my installation's not, 4 centimeters, 12 centimeters, and I'm doing it on the inside because I want the brick to be exposed on the outside. So you're losing a foot around every wall of your house because you want natural materials. So there's a couple of sacrifices that need to be made. But we were saying the other day, my God, in about 10 years' time, there's going to be a bonus to take all this stuff off the houses because they'll realize it'll be just like America. All their houses will be dying. And they're so aware of mold here. It's like in America, I feel like people were just sort of ignorant to it, but they're so aware of it. They're so aware of it here. It's such a, it's almost an offense if you were to get that in your house. It's an embarrassment if you were to get into your house. And now the people, they're like, what are we doing? What is our government doing? Why? So unfortunately, even the traditional, living and building countries are being forced to change their building policies and their building methodologies, which is just really, really sad. And I keep thinking there's going to be a turnaround in all of this. There's going to be a turnaround. There's going to be a moment of realization. Yeah, we might have to wait a little bit longer for that.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the retreat and the village that the retreat's in, because that's not the village you live in.
No. Yeah, we're about 2 hours. We're in wine country, the hills equidistant between Milan and Turin, and where we will be hosting the retreat is up in the heart of the Alps.
And it's not
an hour and a half
as well.
No, an hour and a half from Turin, right on the French border, 1,600 meters high, and just in the heart of these very, very rustic little Italian villages. We're right on the edge of a beautiful national country park, where I'm hoping that we're going to get to go foraging.
Yes. And
learn a little bit about the local herbs, medicinal herbs maybe, and whatever else grows there. We got to figure that out with the menu planning. Yes. Yeah, again, it's a little bit like the building. They're kind of very into sort of naturally eat gaps and Western price. Anyway, there's lots of beautiful stews with the best meats you can possibly get, venison and wild boar and the real wild the wild meats, so that you're getting the best quality of meat because they're not being fed any animal feed or what exactly. They're living off berries and grass. So it's exciting to do something with the local flora and fauna.
I'm excited about the foods. I've been talking to Naomi, so she is the chef that looks after the kids' meals at the village forest school. And do you want to tell us a little bit about the kind of food that she focuses on?
Yeah. So we one of the things that was very, very important for from me as a founder, but for our family, was to have basically we built this school so that we get all the things that we wanted in a school. I guess that's why you do it, right? So we have no Wi-Fi and no technology at this stage. We go up to middle school at the moment. We're talking about a high school, so at that stage I would imagine technology will probably start to be a piece, but we've got no environmental electromagnetic fields floating around. We're in an area where no cell towers reach, and the teachers all keep their phones on airplane mode. And then we have this food program, which is follows Western Price principles. And Naomi, we have a program whereby we have rotating master chefs, so to speak. So there are couples, or not necessarily always couples, that come and bring their own flair to the kitchen. And right now we have Naomi and her husband Bo, who are from Oregon, Portland, Oregon. They both graduated out of the School of Naturopathy. Is that how you say it?
Yep.
In Oregon. They have an extreme interest in 1,000,001 qualifications when it comes to traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic food preparation, and it's amazing because we've had some real challenges with the little kids getting them to eat up until Naomi and Bo joined, and all of a sudden the food is a lot more. The teachers kept on saying, "Can we just have it a bit more bland? Can we have it a bit more bland?" Last year, and so the chefs that were in charge then were like trying to really contain themselves and keep it, simple. And Naomi and Bo have arrived, and everything is broth based, and everything is spiced with beautiful Indian spices. I'm not spicy as in hot spicy, but just super flavored. And all of a sudden, the preschoolers are devouring their food.
Oh, that's so wonderful!
And it's amazing. I sat in the school meeting the other day, and I was like, "This is why we do Western Price teachers, because it's been a challenge." They're all like, leave some, maybe not so much meat, not so much broth, not so much flavor, not so much. And here they are. And we've got like zero waste right now. And they love it. The little Italian kids are asking their bilingual teachers how to ask Naomi for the recipe in English so that they can take it home to their parents.
That's adorable.
So yeah, it's working really, really, really well, and they are doing an amazing job. And this is the joy of having these sort of rotating master chefs. It's a lot to cook for all those kids, and so they come and enjoy the community and stay for a year, and then probably someone else comes in and brings it. So Naomi is going to be joining us. She is an incredible nutritionist. I've started working with her a little bit, and her knowledge is profound. Her ideas are incredible. She knows everything, follows all of I consider the top doctors, the top integrative doctors. So she's going to be coming and joining us and helping us all cook, or helping you cook, Jo. I'll be washing up.
Well, we've been talking back and forth on WhatsApp and figuring out ideas for the menu. Haven't got it all finalized or anything, but I said, can you just send me a list of what's in season at that time in the local area? And as soon as she sent it, I was like, oh, I'm dying to get there. The ideas, and she's saying we could make this and we could make that, and I'm just really going to be I think this is going to be like a retreat for me to be cooking with Naomi in Italy and you, and learning some of the Italian dishes and using all these beautiful ingredients, and I just can't wait. So there's a lot of there's going to be, for those of you who've been following Quirky Cooking for a long time, it's not the same old. This is like revamped Quirky Italian.
Different level.
Next level. With Lucie and Naomi's recipes, and maybe even some traditional recipes from locals if we can get some in. I think you mentioned maybe Bianca coming. So it's really exciting. And so we'll be cooking together and learning about these traditional foods together, going for walks and looking for the herbs. So Naomi's also really into foraging and medicinal herbs and all of that. And then you've got another guy that's hopefully going to be taking foraging, and that's really exciting. I'm also looking forward just to picking Naomi's brains about all the nutrition stuff, and you with the building biology side of things. That's going to be, I think, so many people that are struggling with gut health have been struggling with mold, whether they know it or not. It's so common. So I think having you there is going to be awesome for people to ask questions. Yeah.
And I also think, Jo, I know Naomi's going to be amazing for us all to talk to, because as I say, she's got this just profound knowledge. But what I keep thinking is, sometimes I'm like, oh, how are these people going to learn all this in 4 days?
I know.
And then I always go back to what you said, Jo, when I did a little GAPS reset just a few months ago, which was so fabulous and reminded me of what an incredible way of eating it is. That you don't have to get it all. It doesn't have to be extreme, as you kept on it. And I went to it. It doesn't. You need to learn how to make a great broth and make it properly, because broth can be made in so many different ways, and in many occasions it can be damaging for people if it's too high histamine and it's a bone broth, right? And it's not a simple meat stock. And if you can incorporate one of those beautiful broths into your everyday, I have noticed that I kept that up. At least I kept that up since easing off GAPS a little bit. It's life-changing. It's life-changing how you feel there. And so I think, the learning the art of fermenting, learning how to make a decent broth, learning a couple things around activating nuts to reduce some of the issues that are caused with digestion of these things straight out of the packet without preparing them, which is literally just putting a bowl with water and salt with nuts and, doing just having one extra little step that doesn't really take any time, but really, really changes how you feel inside yourself. So I think just walking away with a few of those things is going to be amazing for these people.
And I think just preparing some meals together can be a real game changer for people if they're always busy and working and full time, and they get home and they're too rushed and they don't eat properly or they don't cook properly, or they find that cooking is stressful for them because they never have the time to just relax and enjoy it. To be able to do that on a retreat where you're completely supported, and you can have a rest if you need to, or you can come and cook and you can hang out and enjoy it and, chat while you're doing it and making new friends. And it's a completely different way of cooking, and it's how it should be. Like, it's how you imagine, in an Italian village, the family coming together and cooking and laughing and enjoying each other's company. That's what we want to recreate, because we'll
become our own little support group going forward.
That's right. Lovely. And we can all create that in our own homes. If we work on that. And I think that's really what I want people to feel, that warmth and the putting the love into the food and enjoyment and relaxing with the food a bit, and realizing, oh, hey, I don't have that ingredient. That's okay. I can swap this out. Or this won't suit me so much, so I'm going to change this. And just relaxing a bit with your cooking, but at the same time
being helped by some amazing experts in the field. Naomi, a veteran, me.
Yes.
I won't call myself an expert, but a veteran in this gut health journey.
Yeah, well, at least veterans, aren't we? Yeah, exactly. No, I think it'll be lovely. And just I was saying to Lucy, she was saying, oh, maybe we should have this and we should have this at the retreat. And I'm like, you know what? My idea of a retreat is just time to actually relax, sit around the fire with a cuppa and chat, sit out under the stars, get in the hot tub if you want to, or the big copper bathtub, and look out at the Alps while you sit there in the bathtub with some magnesium salts or flakes, and just going for walks in the forest and looking at the mountains and walking through the village and enjoying it, and cooking together and relaxing together and natural movement. Like, I don't think you need to pile a lot of stuff in there. We will have times of, sitting down and working through a topic together and figuring it all out in ways that we can make it work. But there's going to be so much just practical everyday. This is what it looks like in everyday life. And let's do this without the stress. And that's what I want to share.
I agree. Not overpacking schedules, because at the end of the day, yeah, I think you're right. Having the time to sit and have it like an open forum in front of the fire,
Exactly.
and just always having access to question ask and to brainstorm and to problem solve and every I think if we pack too much in, we'll find that natural piece, which is going to be a big part of the learning for these 4 or 5 days, is probably would disappear if we pack too much in. So I agree. And there's beautiful spots to sit and relax and soak in the sun, and there's yoga mats if somebody wants to do that. And
Yeah.
I agree. I think keeping it as a family cooking together for a few days and learning along the.
But isn't it true that you learn more by doing things together in an environment where you feel happy and supported than if you were sitting there being lectured on something, or even listening to a podcast? Guys, thank you for listening to this podcast. It's not quite the same as being there and doing it together. So
absolutely not. I mean, that goes back to what I was saying about the school, the hands-on, the learning. I mean, I'm still not great at fermenting. And I'm so excited about learning that all over again. So yeah, the hands-on and the friendships, hopefully, as well.
I think they're going to be amazing. We've got some families coming together, 3 sisters coming together, and I think it's just awesome. Yeah. And maybe one day, we've had a few people ask. We've had a few people ask about bringing kids, and we thought, well, never know. Maybe one day we'll do parents can, like, one of the parents can come with a couple of kids, and we'll do a mums and kids or whatever kind of.
Definitely, I'm totally up for that. I think that would be so fun. Yeah, so fun. We need to get these kiddos hands on as well. Just I'm noticing at the school they all have cooking classes, and Otis came back the other day and made these incredible buckwheat crepes with homemade Nutella. And I was just like, oh my God, you've never done anything like this in your life before.
How old is he?
And he's 10, so he's young, but just the motivation to recreate what he had just learned. You don't learn that stuff sitting down writing a recipe. You learn that stuff in a kitchen with people that are inspiring you, and that was what happened. So
I love it. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, well, we need to wrap up because you've got things to do, places to be.
Yeah, I have to be. So lovely to chat and sit in the sun for a minute. Oh,
yes, it's so good. We had sunshine here this morning, and I just sat out there for probably an hour just soaking it up. It's so good.
Exactly.
So yeah, we would love to welcome you guys to the retreat. If you want to know more, have a look at the link below, or go to my website, quirkycooking.com.au, and you will see all the information there. Lucie, if anyone wants to ask you any questions about anything you've mentioned, can they contact you through Instagram? Is that the best way?
Instagram's probably the best way. Yeah, I'm pretty much sharing everything that you're sharing through both my interior Instagram, which is Lucie McCullough Interiors, and through the Italian property where we'll be holding the retreat, which is Baita 1697. But you'll see it all on Joe's. Maybe Joe, you'll pop something up after this. And you can access those Instagram pages, or reach out to Joe, and I'm happy to share my WhatsApp number as well.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you. All right, guys, thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Thanks, Lucie. It was really good.
So fun. Thanks, Joe.
Can't wait to see you in person.
I know. Finally. Take care.
You too. Have a lovely day.
Bye.